Sometimes it is necessary to move the SQL Server support to Campaign Manager installation, and the steps needed to do that are covered in this video. A couple of important notes. Here we're talking about just moving the SQL Server component and not migrating the entire system. If that's a requirement, please see the video for system migration. Additionally, although SQL Server 2014 active passive clusters are now supported with Campaign Manager 6 onwards, the steps outlined in this video cannot be used to move your SQL Server component to a cluster. If that is the requirement, please contact Ulterior's Professional Services for assistance. A couple more important notes. It probably goes without saying that the Campaign Manager system must be completely shut down before moving the SQL Server. And this means that all campaigns for all clients must be in the pause state, and all SEV or history processing must also be in the pause state. You should use the sysadmin app to shut down Campaign Manager, and if either of those two conditions above are not true, the app will fail, and so if it does run, you know you're in a good state to enact this move. Now, this video is only providing an overview of the steps, as a download associated with the video has all the needed steps set out and also the SQL scripts you need to run. But as an overview, on the source SQL Server, use scripts to create the SQL Server agent jobs, Alchemy routine maintenance, and monitor Alchemy heartbeat. Save the scripts and copy to the new SQL Server. These are important jobs. They basically look after your system. Then for each client DB, run the SQL you'll find in the download in the section Actions on SQL Server Step 3 and store the results. Basically here you're trapping out the bulk copy paths. Back up the database is AL main, Ulterior North, Alchemy store, and all client DBs including Alchemy, and obviously copy the backups to new SQL Server. Also, copy the installation directory, which you'll probably find at C Program Files Ulterior. Copy that from the source SQL Server to the new one. Now within that Ulterior folder, there are two subfolders. The first called Alchemy, and you need to create a share on that called server name Alchemy, and you need to make sure that the services account, i.e. the one that all Campaign Manager services are running under, has full control over it. Within the Alchemy folder itself, there's another subfolder called Alchemy Store DB, and you need to create a share on that called server name Alchemy Store DB, and again the services account must have full control on it. Sorry, flip forward a bit fast there. Restore the database backups taken on the source server. Run the saved and copied scripts to create the SQL Server agent jobs, Alchemy routine maintenance, and monitor Alchemy heartbeat. And then run the scripts found in the section of the download, new SQL Server scripts. Note the AL main script is only run once. The client DB script must be run once for each client DB. Still on the SQL Server, we need to go into these directories, find the config file and update the connection strings in them. That's the Ulterior Alchemy Ulterior SQL job service. In the config file there's two connection strings, so make sure you update them both. The alert logger and alert notifier services also need their connection strings updated. If unfortunately the installation directory path has changed in any way, i.e. the drive letter is different, then you will need to update all the file paths you'll find in those three config files as well. You can then create the three services, Alchemy _ SQL job service, Alchemy _ alert logger, and Alchemy _ alert notifier. You can use the SC create command to do that. Create them, but do not start them. Then moving over to the IIS app server or the web server, update the connection string parameters in the web.config files found in those directories. That's Ulterior Alchemy authentication service and Ulterior Alchemy Ulterior.alchemy.services. And also update the connection string parameters in the config files in those directories for services. That's the Alchemy scheduler service, the alert logger, and alert notifier. And then moving on to the engine server, pretty much the same thing. We need to find the connection string parameters in the config files for these services, the Alchemy engine service, alert logger, and alert notifier. When on the engine server, you probably should check your load or associated processing for any direct references to the SQL server, which will need updating, of course. Finally, you use a sysadmin app to restart the system, which will actually, in a sense, validate that the move has been done correctly, as if it starts correctly, of course. And then after that, you can resume campaign processing for all client DBs. And that's a couple of the steps we need to move a SQL server. Just a reminder, you can't use this process for a cluster. If that's a requirement, please contact the Professional Services Ulterior. Thanks for listening.